We can start, Bharti.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bharti from GST Zen. As you all know, e-invoicing for 5 crores and above has been implemented from 1st of August. So still some of you might not have implemented it, or if you have implemented it, you might have some questions uh, regarding various aspects of it. So today we'll be going over the basics, what GST Zen provides as a solution for you to integrate your systems, or if you want to integrate, go directly to the portal. So we'll be discussing all the aspects of e-invoicing and answer all your questions uh, regarding the same. So before beginning, let me go over the webinar outline. We'll be going over the basics of e-invoicing, the legal provisions, how to create an account with NIC, integration through Excel and APIs, generation and validation of e-invoice. So issuing the customer to the customer, issuing the e-invoice to the customer, and what GST Zen is offering. Before moving on to e-invoicing, let me tell you a little bit about GST Zen. GST Zen is an ASP GST. So besides e-invoicing, we provide other services such as return filing. You can use GST Zen to file your GSTR 1, 3B, 9 and 9C. You can also get various reconciliation reports that help you in analyzing your data or claiming ITC or filing 3B. So you can get reconciliation between books and GSTR 2A, 2B. We provide PAN level reports, consolidated report where you can compare your various returns such as GSTR 1 versus 2A versus 3B. We have some other tools which help you, such as JSON to Excel, GSTN HSN validator, autopilot, which you can use to perform the same function for multiple GST numbers at a time. Let's look at some of our numbers. We have more than 30,000 users. Lakhs of reports have been downloaded from our software. Millions of invoices are processed daily. And our database contains more than 20 crore invoices. We are also generating about 1 lakh e-invoices every week, so load handling is not an issue with us. Moving on, why e-invoicing? So why has the government brought e-invoicing? So our society, we as a society are going digital. So the government has implemented this going digital in terms of their GST compliance as well. So because of that, India's ranking has moved up from 77 to 63 in ease of doing business. By implementing e-invoicing, uh, it has been observed that it reduces 96% of the cost, 80% time, and it makes the process 15 times more efficient. It also results in better compliance by the taxpayer and simplifies audits. So for e-invoicing, there is no prior standard under GST. E-invoicing has been introduced to enable interoperability between various systems. So since the method of reporting is uniform, so if you're generating an e-invoice or somebody else is doing it, all the format, everybody would be reporting in the same format. So it allows interoperability between various softwares and eliminates the need for data entry. So if you are generating an e-invoice, it will go to GSTR 1. From there, it will go to GSTR 2A and 2B of the buyer as well. So there is no need for you to do data entry multiple times. It also helps other players such as banks, wholesaler, chain retail. Let's look at the timeline of e-invoicing. E-invoicing first went live for businesses whose turnover exceeded 500 crores from 1st of October 2020. After that, it was for 100 crores, and eventually it has come down to 5 crore according to the latest notification, that is Central Tax Notification 10 bar 2023, and it has gone live from 1st of August. So now speaking of this turnover is in regards to your PAN. So if you have 3 or 4 GST numbers for your PAN, the turnover is calculated for all the GST numbers together. So if your turnover has passed 5 crore in any of the previous financial years, that means since GST has been implemented in 2017, if since then your turnover has passed 5 crore, even for 1 year, you are eligible for e-invoicing. So let's say your turnover passed 5 crore in 2021, but after that, it has remained below 5 crores. Still, you are eligible for e-invoicing and you have to implement it. Let's look at, yes.
Yeah, one point which I would like to highlight here is the common mistakes that I have been noticing, especially 10 crores and above also, where the e-invoice went live effective the beginning year itself. But most of the times when there are multiple GST and IDs, as like Bharti said, this turnover is for the PAN-based turnover and not GST number-based turnover. Where there are unit accountants, for example, you have operations in Delhi and Mumbai. And let's say Delhi is your corporate office and it has done turnover of say some 6-7 crores. Mumbai is a new setup and it is doing some 15-20 lakhs. The awareness of the accountant in the Mumbai is not up to their thing that okay, they have to do the e-invoicing. Mostly the Delhi office, which is just consolidating, gets the books of accounts for consolidations at the year. But this education that even the other GST numbers where the turnover is less than 5 crores is not passed on, and this will become a non-compliance of the law. So you should not only just check that okay, you it's applicable to you, but you should intimate the other GSTN where the accounting is done, those accountants to make sure that they also comply with the e-invoice. This is one common mistake that's happening. And as Bharti rightly said, the turnover to be checked is for any of the preceding years. Like for example, 1819 and 1920, the turnover crossed the threshold limit. Post COVID, the turnover remained continued to be at say 2 crores, 3 crores. Yet e-invoicing is applicable to you. That is something that you need to comply with. Yeah, so this is something you have to be mindful of. Please continue, Bharti.
Okay. So moving on, let's look at the relevant notifications. So e-invoicing was notified by CGST notification 68 bar 2019. So here, Rule 48 of CGST rules gives the manner of issuing invoice. So it tells you how to issue the e-invoice. Rule 48 Subrule 4 gives Form GST INV1. It is specifying how to issue the e-invoice. Rule 48 Subrule 5 says that invoice other than above is not valid. If you are not issuing the invoice in terms in accordance with Rule 48 Subrule 4, it will not be valid. So Rule 48 Subrule 6 says you do not require multiple copies of the invoice if you are generating an e-invoice. So before e-invoice, you would have multiple copies, one for your supplier, one for your transporter, etc., etc. So you do not require these multiple copies. If you are generating e-invoice, only one is sufficient. Notification 69 bar 2019 notifies the common portal. The common portal, that is einvoice1.gst.gov.in. Now new portals have also been notified. The 5 new portals have been notified recently. We'll take a look at them after this. CGST notification 60 bar 2020 specifies the schema, that is fields of INV 01. So schema is essentially giving you what all information you can give in the invoice, what is mandatory and what is optional, how the information has to be reported. So all of this is provided in the schema. So these are the additional new IRPs that have been notified recently. So e-invoice 1 was already notified in 2019 and has been live since then. These 5 new have been notified recently and they are live. So e-invoice 1 and e-invoice 2 are run by the government. Other 4 are run by private players. So e-invoice 3 is run by Signet, 4 by Clear Tax, 5 by EY, and 6 by IRIS IRP. So you can register yourself on any of these portals to generate e-invoices. It is not mandatory that you go on e-invoice1.gst.gov.in. You can register on any of the 6. Earlier there was only one. Now you have 6 options. So let's talk about who has to generate e-invoice and who has been exempted. So any taxpayer who has crossed the turnover for the PAN of 5 crore has to generate e-invoice, but there are some exceptions to it. So the persons who are exempted, an SEZ unit is exempted, government department is exempted, local authority is exempted, and persons covered by CGST Rule 54 are also exempted, which include insurer or a banking company or a financial institution, including NBFC, transport agency. So here many people come to us with these questions. I am running a transport agency. Do I need to generate e-invoice? No, you do not need to generate e-invoice. Passenger transportation service, they are also exempted from e-invoicing and admission to exhibition of cinematograph films in multiplex screen. So any person, any registered person besides this list has to generate e-invoicing if their turnover has crossed 5 crores for the PAN. Now this is very important. Which transactions are covered by e-invoicing rules? So when do you have to generate e-invoices for what kind of transactions? So e-invoicing is applicable only for B2B, business to government and exports. So you only have to generate e-invoices when you're selling goods to a registered person or to the government or exporting your goods and services. So in these 3 cases, e-invoicing will be applicable for invoices, any related credit notes or debit notes. So just to sum up, e-invoicing is applicable for taxable supplies when it is supplied to a registered person, to a government, to a government body, or for export of goods and services. And the documents for which e-invoice has to be generated are invoices, credit notes, and debit notes. Now, where is e-invoicing not applicable? This question comes up very frequently. E-invoicing is not applicable for B2C. So if you are selling your goods to a non-registered person that is categorized as B2C, their e-invoicing will not be applicable. You will be giving a tax invoice, but it will not be an e-invoice. Similarly, any purchase from URD or any imports. So you will also not generate an e-invoice where you are selling non-taxable goods. So e-invoicing is not applicable for non-taxable supply, delivery challan, and ISD invoice. Moving on to registration. So if you want to now also you can there are various portals which are notified by the government. So if you want to test your data before going live, you can register yourself on the sandbox and you can test with your data. how e-invoicing works. You can test various scenarios with your dummy data. E-invoice sandbox allows you to test. And when you move live, you have to go to e-invoice1.gst.gov.in. Another portal, E-Invoice One Trial, has been enabled for businesses whose turnover exceeds 100 crores. So if your turnover is below 100 crore, you would not be able to register on E-Invoice One Trial for direct API access. You can register on API Sandbox and test with your data. There are other tools also which are provided by the government. So this first website, you can go and see the list of people who are generating e-invoice. And if you are buying supplies from a vendor who's eligible for e-invoicing and not generating it, you would be able to check it here if he's eligible. And if he's not giving an e-invoice, you should ask for the e-invoice since he's eligible for e-invoicing. You can also check your status of e-invoice enablement. If you're not sure whether your GST number has been enabled for e-invoicing, you can go to this website and check for your GST number. The portal also provides an offline utility, that is an Excel, using which you can generate e-invoice. It provides a QR. It provides an app to scan the QR code on the e-invoice to verify the authenticity of the e-invoice. So you can scan that QR code. It will give you some information and it will say verified. So it is signed by NIC. So by that you can verify whether this is an legitimate e-invoice. You can also test, verify the authenticity with acknowledgement JSON. Acknowledgement JSON is essentially the response of an e-invoice. If you send some data to the portal, it will give you back the response. That response is called acknowledgement JSON. So that JSON can be used to verify the e-invoice as well. So let's go to look at the process of generation of e-invoice. So if you have implemented e-invoicing, let's say you have connected it with your ERP. So there the seller will enter the information in their ERP, send a request to IRP with the JSON. All the information of the e-invoice will go in the form of a JSON to IRP, where it would be validated. It will check whether your information is following all the rules. So first it will validate that. It will also check for duplication. It will check whether you have generated an e-invoice for the same information before. So if you have generated it already, it will give you an error that this is duplicate IRN. So you will not be able to generate it again, and check for various validations. So once it is verified, the e-invoice will be generated, and then the IRP will send back the data. It will send back the digitally signed JSON with IRN and QR code, that is the acknowledgement JSON, back to the seller. Once it is generated, it will also go to GSTR1, and if e-way bill is also generated, it will also go to the e-way bill portal. After it has auto-populated in GSTR1, it will go to the buyer's GSTR2A also. Once you file your GSTR1, it will get populated in GSTR2B. Let's look at some of the terms, important terms and definitions in e-invoicing. Now, we keep on hearing the term IRN, that is invoice reference number. What is IRN? It is a number. It is alphanumeric 64-digit alphanumeric number used to uniquely identify an invoice. It uses a combination of taxpayer GST number, financial year, document type, and invoice number. So this IRN is generated based on these four this information. So this is it will always be unique. So if you try to generate an invoice with these four information again, it will give you a result duplicate IRN. So this also a lot of people get this confusion. Let's say you have generated invoice number 2 in 22-23, but then you try to you see that there's been some mistake and you try to amend it. You will not be able to change it, or let's say you cancelled it and then try to use the same invoice number again in the same financial year. You will not be able to use it because it is a unique combination based on these four details. Invoice registration portal. It is authorized by the government. It is run by NIC. It verifies and acknowledges e-invoices, replies within the blink of an eye. The information retained in IRP is for 24 hours, beyond which it will not keep your information. During that threshold, you can cancel the e-invoice and you will not be able to see the list of e-invoices you have generated. So it will not store your data. It will only contain it for 24 hours, beyond which you will not be able to access it. So this is what a typical response from IRP looks like. So if you have successfully generated an e-invoice, it will give you an acknowledgement date, an acknowledgement number. That is essentially when the date and time at which you have generated the e-invoice, an acknowledgement number, IRN, signed invoice, signed QR code, which you can use and convert, which you can convert into an invoice or a QR code image. The status, whether it's active or cancelled. If you're generating the e-way simultaneously, you'll have e-way details as well. So you'll have the e-way date, number, and validity. So this is the PDF which is given by the government once you generate an e-invoice. This is the QR code. You can scan this to get the basic high-level information of the invoice. It will not give you all the information, but it will give you a summary, essentially high-level information that you can use to verify the invoice. So once you scan this QR code, you will get the buyer GST number, document date, document number, document type, whether it's an invoice, credit note, or debit note, IRN number, item list, how many item count, how many items, what is the quantity that it contains, the main HSN code, seller GST number, and total invoice value. So you can see it will not give you all the information, but it will give you the high level information to verify the invoice. So how does GST then help you in e-invoicing? I'll take an example of our PDL that is installed in Tally. My team will be showing you a demo of it in the later part of the webinar. So we provide a TDL that can be installed in Tally. So once the TDL is installed and you click on generate e-invoice, the data from there in the form of XML is sent to GST Zen Cloud, where the data is validated. After validation, it is converted into JSON and sent to IRP. From there, once e-invoice is generated, we get the QR code and IRN. It is stored back in Tally. So if you install our TDL in your Tally, you'll be able to directly generate it and get the IRN and QR code back in your Tally. So you won't have to go to the e-invoice portal. You can get all the information in your Tally and directly download it from there. Generation. Okay. Let's move on to some of the frequently asked questions. We'll also take up your questions at the end of this. at what time is the e-invoice required for a particular transaction. So if you are if you are producing goods or selling goods, at what time should you generate the e-invoice? Before commencing movement. So if you are selling goods, before you send out the goods, you should generate the e-invoice. Invoice for across the counter sale before completing the sale, and invoice for services before issuing it to the customer. So now that e-invoicing has come, how do e-way bills work in these cases? So e-way bills are governed by Rule 138 of CGST rules. E-way bill can be simultaneously generated along with IRN, or it can be generated at a later date as well. So let's say I have made the sale, I generate e-invoice today, but I have to transport the goods after 2 days. I'm delivering the goods after 2 days. So I generate the e-invoice now, but I can generate the e-way bill when I'm actually moving the goods. So I'll generate the e-way bill based on that IRN after 2 days. IRP supports e-way bills only for invoice. So if you want to link your e-way bill and e-invoice, it will only happen in case of an invoice. If you are moving goods based on a credit note or debit note, you will not be able to link it with the e-way bill. You'll have to generate the e-way bill separately. If you want to cancel the e-invoice, you have to first cancel the e-way bill, then cancel the e-invoice if you have generated a e-way bill for it as well. You cannot cancel the invoice without canceling the e-way bill first. How to print an e-invoice? So your invoice should contain IRN and QR code. So a QR code in a digital display is sufficient for transport. You need not have a hard copy of the invoice. A soft copy would work. How to send an e-invoice to the recipient? So IRP will not send it for you. You should send the PDF along with the acknowledgement JSON so that the buyer can verify from both sources by scanning the QR code as well as with the acknowledgement JSON. What details of the e-invoice should you save? So you should save the acknowledgement number, date, and invoice with a QR code digitally signed by IRP. So moving on, can e-invoice be cancelled? Yes, you can cancel an e-invoice, but that can only happen within 24 hours of creation. So if you generate an e-invoice today, let's say at 3:30, you will only be able to cancel it before 3:30 tomorrow. Post that, you will not be able to cancel the e-invoice. Will you be able to modify it? No. So let's say instead of quantity 10, by mistake I mentioned 100. So now I cannot modify it. I can only cancel it. Even after canceling, I will not be able to use the same invoice number. So if I've used invoice number 2 and by mistake I've given the quantity 100, so I'll have to cancel it and then generate a fresh invoice, that is invoice number 3, with the correct information. Or another method is you can raise a credit note or debit note to rectify the situation. What if I have generated an invoice by mistake and it is not cancelled within 24 hours? So if you are not able to cancel it within 24 hours, you can cancel it in your books of accounts and not report it in your GST returns. So when you generate an e-invoice, it gets auto-populated in your GSTR1. So if you're not able to cancel it and you're removing it, canceling it in your books of accounts, but not able to cancel the e-invoice, you should remove it from your GSTR1 before filing the return, or you can raise a credit note or debit note. On e-invoice technical aspects, we have already gone over this, how GST Zen helps in e-invoicing. Another feature that GST Zen provides is you can directly email. As soon as you can avail this service, you can enable emailing of,
Arti,
yes.
sorry to interrupt, but your PPT is not visible.
Okay. Has it been not visible this whole time?
No, just for a couple of seconds.
Okay. Okay. Visible now?
Yeah. Please continue.
Okay. So yeah, as I was saying, we have already gone over how GST Zen provides us various solutions for e-invoicing. An additional feature that we provide is emailing of the PDF of e-invoice. So when you generate e-invoice directly from the portal, it does not email it. So we provide an additional feature where you can enable emailing of the e-invoice as soon as it is generated. So you won't have to manually download the PDF and then send it to your buyer. It will be automatically triggered as soon as you generate the e-invoice. So this is e-invoice schema. There are some mandatory sections, then there are some optional sections. So sections such as seller details, buyer details, which contains the GST number, the state, address, these details are mandatory for e-invoicing. Similarly, document details, line item details, and the amount details that means the total, your total CGST, SGST, total amount of the invoice. These all sections are mandatory for e-invoicing. For each invoice, this information has to go. Let's look at some other sections. So if you have a different ship to address or dispatch from address, you would be providing that as well. In case of export, you will be providing export details. Then you have the option of providing reference details. So these are optional. If you want to provide PO number, PO date, or you want to give payment terms, your bank information, these are all optional details that you can provide in the e-invoice. So you have 28 mandatory sections and 45 uh, optional sections. Within each mandatory section also, you will have mandatory fees and sorry, let's look at one such thing. So if you are looking at supplier, so supplier details are actually mandatory, but not all fields within this section are mandatory. So let's say, let's look at all these fields. So in case of a supplier, the GST number, the trade name, PIN code, state code, these are all mandatory, but rest of the information you can choose to provide or you can leave it blank. So these are optional. So we do not need to go into detail. Let me tell you a little bit about what GST Zen offers. So we offer various solutions. We offer an Excel solution under which we provide secured folder and drag and drop. We also provide direct database integration and some custom-made solution, ready-made solution for Tally and SAP. We also provide APIs which are helpful to software developers. Using the APIs, the developers can link their own software through GST Zen to the e-invoice portal. So they can directly link their ERP for generation of e-invoice. They'll be able to give the command from the their own ERP and get the response back. So now my colleague will show you the demo of the software.
Thanks, Karthik.
Before we move on to the demo, I just want to look at some questions if there are any, and we'll answer those. Couple of questions that have come in the chat has already been answered. The thing. There's one question which is by Logiware sharing that we are rendering GTS services forward charge 12%. The question is RCM e-invoice possible? The answer is yes. E-invoice is applicable for all the outward supplies, and when Bharti has mentioned RCM, A self-tax invoice, which is the liability that I am discharging as an inward supply RCM, e-invoice is not applicable. If I'm doing an outward supplies, RCM would be applicable. Then Deepa is asking, if we raise the invoice in the software today, within how many days we need to generate an e-invoice? Deepa, ideally it is the instant. There is no question of generating invoice at a later date. However, the portal permits you to do a backdated data entry and generation of invoice. I would request Vasisht and Utkarsh, when you are doing demo, instead of taking 4th August as the date, pick a earlier date and do the demo. However, if you read Rule 48 sub Rule 5, if you are issuing any invoice to the customer other than the e-invoice, it would be treated as an invalid invoice. Then there is a question asking, can we able to generate e-invoice on previous month? For example, you want to generate on 31st of the previous month, will it allow? As of now, the portal allows it. In between, the government considered putting a time limit of 7 days, but for some reasons that has been suspended. Maybe after everything is settled, we may get a 7 days lock-in. We are using a billing software. How can we connect GST then through Excel? Our colleague Utkarsh is going to do a demo of how to use GST then Excel and generate an e-invoice. Syed's question on, is the e-invoice applicable to the exempted goods? Answer is no. E-invoice is not applicable to the exempted goods, whether you are selling to a registered person or an unregistered person. In case of the question from international overseas services, is e-invoice applicable to export of services to foreign clients under LUT? So export of goods or export of services with payment or without payment. In all the scenarios, e-invoice is applicable and is mandatory. So we have picked up all the questions that have come up and we have answered. And again, we will still have a Q&A at the end. I request to Utkarsh to take over and take up the practical generation of e-invoice through Excel and the API.
Sure, sir. I'll be sharing my screen.
Yeah.
Please let me know. Okay. Is my screen visible?
Yes, visible.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Utkarsh, and today I will be showing you the 3 modes of integration through GSTZen and how you can easily create e-invoices through GSTZen. So the first method of integration would be through the billing software that we have. So this is the dashboard of GSTZen once you create your account and log in. So this is the place which you would see, and you would see all your GSTNs that are being managed by you. You would also get the brief details about the GST numbers, and also you would get some quick links which would help you to quicken your process and increase your efficiency. So first of all, we would go ahead with billing software. So for that, I would select this GST number and I would click on that. And then I would go to create invoice. So this is a new update in our billing software that we have done. And this is how it looks now. And the details are same. It just has become more user friendly. So people experience it more as an invoice. So the format has been made like that. So once you click, once you get this invoice number, you can edit it. Let's say you can make it 1, 2, and then make it the date. 1 second. And make the date as today's 4th August. And then you can select the recipients. Now this recipients would automatically appear. 1 second. Yeah, this recipients will automatically appear. As you can see, I just typed a CAD and all those details appeared. This is because I have all the data stored in the master codes and the master data, where when you use the billing software, you can also save all your frequent data that is required and when whoever you bill to. So you do not have to enter the details again and again, and it just unnecessarily slows the process. So you can just have a database of all the recipients that are frequently present in your invoice. So it just helps your process. So apart from that, you can see the line item details that are present. So this also, if I click on this drop down, I can get a list of details which are already present in my master codes, or I can say the product codes, and I can just select any one of them and all the details gets automatically filled. And yeah, we can just go ahead and we can just select those. Let's leave that and let's make it 2000. I'll just change some of the details so that just to know that it works. This it's not that only the previous feeded unit price only we can work. If you want to add additional line items, you can add from here by clicking on this. And if you want to delete it, there is a delete button. Apart from that, if you click on save, the invoice gets saved. And there is a button as new invoice, download PDF and review. So I would click on this review. And you can see that the invoice object has been created. This is a place where all your invoices get stored. It's a part of the sales register. So I am just showing you the tax invoice. Now, if you want to generate the e-invoice through it, you have to just click that, click here to generate e-invoice. And you would see that quickly it is being converted into e-invoice. You can see that the IRN details, the acknowledgement number and the acknowledgement date has appeared. And you can also see the API calls that we have made to generate e-invoice and at what time. So you can verify the details. Also, if you want, you can check the PDF. Yeah. So you would see that the IRN details, the acknowledgement number and date, the QR code all has appeared in the invoice and all the details that we chose. If you would remember, we chose the unit price as 2000 rupees in the PDF. So this is the first method how you generate an e-invoice from the billing software. Now, if you want to generate an e-way bill along with it, then there is a functionality that is generate e-way bill by IRN. So you can enter some basic details of part B. I would enter the vehicle details, transporter ID and transporter name you can leave for blank for now. And then you can just click on generate e-way bill. And you would see that the e-way bill is also generated, the e-way bill number, the date, and up to what time is it valid. You can also get that. If you see the PDF, you would see that there is an addition of the row, e-way bill number, e-way bill date, the vehicle number that I entered K33A1234. All those details have appeared along with the e-invoice. So this is a mechanism of generating an e-way bill on an e-invoice, as Bharti mentioned in the PDF, that we have the functionality where if you are registered for e-invoice, you can also generate an e-way bill along with it. You also get a PDF of e-way bill. Once you click on that, you get all the details. If you want to verify, we can verify that this 2000 rupees we had entered the chairs and the details, whatever we had entered, K331234, and all those details we can verify. So this is being generated by this. Now, another mechanism through which we can generate e-invoices is our Excel integration. So for that, again, I would go back to my home page and click on that GST number. And then I would click on this e-invoicing. On this, there is a page of GSTs and Excel full. I would click on that. And there is a button, download Excel template. This is basically a base template which helps you to enter your data and just download it to show how it looks like and how you need to fill the data in this. Okay, just one minute. So this is the Excel. It has basically 3 tabs: about, sales, invoices, and master data. So about tab contains all the details of the fields that are necessary in the for creating the e-invoices and which are to be provided by you when you try to generate an e-invoice through the e-invoicing Excel. One point to note here is that here not all the fields which are mandatory are being mandatory there. So because we have taken some into consideration so that you do not have to select each and every detail. So whatever details which are provided mandatory, like document type, document number, and seller details, supplier details, recipient details, all are being bifurcated in mandatory as well as optional. Also, there are item level details which are provided, item HSN code, item product description, quantity, UQC code, and all those details are provided. For export details, you can see that for the export, it is mandatory to provide the country code. Now, the sales invoices is the place where you enter your details of the invoices, like the document type, what would it be, whether it would be an invoice, a credit note, or a debit note. And all those details which are in bold are made to be, mandatory fields. So those details have to be entered. It also contains the master data, which tells you some of the details about the state code, the UQC code, because this is sometimes a confusing part, that what should be the UQC code of what. And so you can have a brief reference about all those codes. There is also something about the transaction type, like whether the transaction has to be B2B or it has to be SCZ or it is an export, what is it? So depending on that, you can just enter the transaction type. We can also enter the invoice, like as I told, that whether you are generating an invoice or a credit note or a debit note. And as I told, for the export invoices, it's mandatory to provide the country code, and all the countries with their country codes are provided. So it's always a 2-digit, or so to say 2 alphabets for the country code. So this is a brief overview of the GSTs in Excel. Now let's upload a file. Now we click on this, upload your Excel. And you will see that it has taken the number of documents as 7, which are present, the number of taxable amounts. There is no errors in the invoice as of now. So if there would have been some errors, it would have segregated them here. And if you say that there are some invoices, so what all invoices you have entered into the Excel all would appear in just line items. So you can just have a brief overview of whether the taxable amount is correct, whether the invoice date is correct. As Venu sir was explaining that we can generate e-invoice of the backdated invoice. So you can see that the date is of the previous year. It's a 10/4/10/2022. So you can generate the backdated invoice also as of now, because the restriction has not been made as of now. So if you click on this PDF, you would see that it's just a simple invoice with the basic details that I've entered into the Excel, and these are appearing like that. The seller details, what are the details of the credit note, and what are the descriptions that are present. So once I convert them into invoices, it would change, and the IRN and the acknowledgement number details would appear. So let me just click on this. Yes, upload invoices. And you would see that slowly all those yellow buttons, which I am seeing here, would be converted into e-invoices.
So someone was asking how much time it takes to generate an invoice. Honestly, this is the time. So you can just see how much volume of the invoices you're uploading, maybe 1,000 invoices in one go. In a fraction of seconds, the invoices gets generated. In fact, Utkarsh will show you when you click on that any of the like webinar test 430, you will see with the QR code. Earlier, the PDF was blank. You will see QR code with the date and timestamp. So generating e-invoice means you need to have an invoice which is acknowledged by the government, so that when you are issuing to your customer, the trust factor, the confidence will get built that, okay, this is an invoice which is now real-time reported into GSTR1 and GSTR2A, so that his credit is intact. And that is why in Rule 48, Sub-Rule 5, they said if you are issuing any document other than e-invoice, it would be treated as null or not a valid invoice. Utkarsh, please go ahead and show one invoice.
Okay, so as you can see, all those yellow marks which were showing that invoice is not yet created has converted into green. And if you click now on any of the PDF, you would see that all those extra details for to be a valid e-invoice has appeared, like the IRN, the acknowledgement number, date, and the QR code. All these details have appeared. Initially, it was not, but see, this has changed. Now, if you go into this invoice object, This is the same page where we had landed through the billing software. So it becomes a central repository whenever or wherever you generate it, all your invoices are intact and in the same place, which are the sales register of a particular GST number in your account. So whether you generate through e-invoice, through billing software, through Excel or through API, which I would be showing, all those would be in a central repository or the sales register of your particular GST number. Now let me show you the API integration. So this is an API testing platform, which is Postman, and I will be showing you how we can generate the e-invoices through APIs. So this is essentially helpful for all the developers or all the customers who want to integrate their ERP with, they just want a click of a button in their ERP so that they do not have to go to any other software because they are accustomed to that ERP. So for them, this is the best solution where they can integrate the API, and our API actually provides a lot of results which helps the developer to easily integrate with us. So this is the basic JSON structure of the e-invoice that is prescribed by NIC, and all these details which are provided are here. So you can see the document details, the type, what is the type. You can here mention as credit note CRN or debit note DBN, or the date. As you can see that here also the date is of previous, no, it's not the present date. So you can also see you can now enter the seller details and the buyer details, the dispatch details if you have, the ship to details if you have. So dispatch and ship to details are not mandatory columns. If you have, you can, government has provided that field where you can enter and you can register in that invoice. Also, if you want, you can also, you have to provide the item list also, the serial number, the product description, everything is same. It's just that in a JSON format. And this val details, it's also invoice level details which are provided, like the assessment value, the CGST, SGST value, IGST value, and the discounts and whatever are present in the invoice. It's just being calculated in total and being presented in this val details. Now I would just show you how you can generate an e-invoice. Now I've just changed the invoice number. You would see that it's saying IRN is generated and the message has come. This is the IRN number, this is the acknowledgement date and acknowledgement number. And you can see that the e-bill PDF and e-bill QR code is null as of now because I have not provided the e-bill details. But this is the invoice PDF URL. You can visit the same PDF. Now let me show you how you can check it, because this is one of our essential features. And you have to just type my.gstzen.in and then paste it. You would see that again, that same PDF which we saw through all the three integrations have appeared, and this IRN acknowledgement number, date, details all have appeared through that. Now, if you want to see other details, like if you want to see the QR code, also you have to just do that my.gstzen.in, and you can just paste this QR code. If you want to generate an e-bill on this, so what you have to do, everything is same. This e-bill, this endpoint changes, and the only thing that changes in the JSON is the e-bill dictionary. So there is an extra detail that is being provided that is there in the NIC portal also, you can see. So an extra detail of e-bill can be added, and based on the invoice level details, it will figure out and would generate an e-bill. So let me just again make it 50 so that the invoice details are same. Yeah, so it is saying that the e-bill is generated. And now you would see that the IRN status has become gen, the e-bill status has become gen. And even in the last request, as we saw that the e-bill PDF URL and the QR code URL were null. Now it is not null and the PDF have appeared. So if we again do that, just prefix it with my.gstzen.in. So you can see that we can even access the e-bill PDF. Now, if you want to cancel the e-invoice, so even that you can do it. Or if you first want to cancel the e-way bill, so the same JSON, now again, it becomes very easy. The same JSON you have to pass it, and you have to just change the e-way bill details, the invoice document details, and this endpoint changes. Now it would just cancel the e-way bill. So your invoice remains intact. Now you would see that the invoice e-way bill is cancelled, and again this e-way bill PDF URL, e-way bill QR code URL has become null, and you can see that the e-way bill status has become can. Now if you want to cancel the e-invoice itself, there is one important point to note, that if you cancel the e-invoice and the e-way bill has been generated through that invoice, so the e-way bill automatically gets cancelled if you cancel the e-invoice. So that is an important point to note while you cancel the e-invoice. Okay, so now you can see that even the IRN is cancelled, and you can see that the IRN status and e-way bill status both is can. So these were the three modes of integration for e-invoicing. Now my friend Vashishta will show you how e-invoicing can be done through Tally. Over to you, Vashishta.
Thank you, Utkarsh. I'll just be presenting my screen.
Yeah. So Vasist is going to do the demo of generating e-invoice through Tally. In fact, many people were asking that how to generate. So here, a couple of points I would like to bring to your attention. First, this demo is being done through the add-on that is created in Tally of GST-Zen. In fact, that is where on the screen, you are seeing before the quit button, there is something called GST-Zen. So this is an add-on that has been added to facilitate generating invoice through GST-Zen. That is point number one. Point number two, whatever the demo that is being done is the same applicable if you are doing through Tally Prime also of GST-Zen app. Why we are showing the demo of ERP9 is still there are many users who use Tally ERP9, and Tally per se has an inbuilt feature in Tally Prime to generate invoice through Tally Prime. But for those who are using the older version of the Tally ERP9 and they have done customizations, etc., or for various reasons their license is not upgraded, they can still use this add-on app of GST-Zen and generate an e-invoice. So this works exactly in any version of the ERP or 6.3, 7.28 or Tally Prime. The way, the methodology it works, it would be the same. But we are showing through ERP9. But in any version of your Tally, it works in the same way. Vasist, please continue.
Thank you, sir. So as I'm Vasista from GST-Zen. Today, I'm going to be giving you a demo on how to create e-invoice and e-way bill through Tally and how to cancel it. As Venu sir told, before using this, you have to install a extra add-on application named TDL to your gateway of Tally, by which you'll be getting the GST-Zen tab over here. Here, B2B e-invoice, and then you have e-invoice generated, registered, pending, and cancelled. In the e-invoice register, this is the register where your sales invoices are present. They are presented in different colors. The black color or the normal colored cell tells that it is a normal invoice and neither the e-invoice nor the e-way bill is cancelled and is generated. And the green color tells that both the e-invoice and the e-way bill is generated for this invoice. And the red colored cell tells that there is an error while uploading the invoice or creating the invoice. Let's just see what is the error here. You can see in the status bar that error GST number is invalid. That's why it is showing in red color. And the blue color tells that only e-invoice is generated and e-way bill is not generated for this particular invoice. Now I'll just create one invoice and show you how e-way bill and e-invoice is generated. So for creating an invoice, as you know, normal a sales entry has to be passed. And this option, which you see as primary, for example, you have a company and have 3 or 4 branches in different states. At that time, you need not set up a different gateway of Tally for each branch. All of them can be operated or that can be done in a single Tally Prime that is provided by GST Zen. Now I'll be selecting primary, which I've taken it as Karnataka. Select the party name. The state sales. Select the commodity. Give a quantity for it. And here you can see a tab, provide GST or e-way bill details. If you do not need a e-way bill, then you can give it as no. If you need a e-way bill, you need to give yes. And here, only the vehicle number needs to be entered. Everything else will be calculated by GST Zen itself. So I'll add a vehicle number here and then save this entry. Yeah, so this is the entry which I passed now. Now I'll just select this entry, and on the right hand side, you can see command upload e-invoice, generate e-way bill, everything is there. Here, I'll give a command as upload e-invoice. Yeah, you can see that the black colored cell turned into green color. That indicates that both the e-way bill and the e-invoice got generated. You can see in the status bar, IRN generated, and then e-way bill is also generated. And this can be also viewed in the PDF form if you just give a print command. You can see the invoice which is created with the IRN number, acknowledgement date, and the e-way bill number, and also the QR code. So this is how you create e-invoice along with the e-way bill in just a click of a button. Now I'll show you how it is cancelled. For that, you need to go to e-invoice generated, and I'll select an entry. And one thing you have to keep in mind that before cancellation of e-invoice, the e-way bill has to be cancelled first. Only then the e-invoice can be cancelled. You can see it is in green color. I'll select it and give a command as cancel e-way bill first. You can see it turned into blue color, and in the status also it tells e-way bill cancelled, but the e-invoice is still there. Now I'll select this and give a command as cancel e-invoice also. Immediately that entry just vanishes from here, and you can see that in the e-invoice cancelled part, IRN cancelled, e-way bill also cancelled. So in just a click of a button, you can create and cancel e-invoice and e-way bill through Tally. And now I'll be showing you how to create and cancel standalone e-way bill and also extension of part B. Yeah, here also it's the same case. You need to add the TDL plugin here. So you will get the GST Zen tab. And then e-way bill generate. So these are the invoices which I have entered here. Same, the green colored cells tell that e-way bill is generated for these invoices. I've also entered a delivery note here, you can see. Now I'll just create one invoice and then try to create e-way bill and then also cancel it.
Just go back versus there once. Yeah, so this the specific reason I want people to pay attention, even though it is an e-invoice session, the penalties of not complying with e-way bill is very harsh. I'm sure everyone are aware. Penalty under section 129 is 200% of the tax, and error is human. Once you go to the e-way bill portal and do a data entry, the chance of it being erroneous is high. Second, it is a heavy time consuming. Just to do a single line in e-way bill, it would take 5 minutes. But here you can see the power of technology. You For a delivery challan, you have done the e-way bill. For a B2C supply where e-invoice is not applicable, also you have done e-way bill. Earlier, Vasisht has shown you the demo e-invoice e-way bill. Now only pure e-way bill also you have seen. So inside being here in the Tally, you doesn't need to navigate to any different website or an application. Everything gets access and done here. And when you print it, the beauty of it, you will see the e-invoice and the e-way bill, all those aspects. Yes, Vasisht, please proceed.
So I'll create a B2C invoice and then try to generate e-way bill for it. So I'm choosing Mr. X. So there is no customer. It would be a B2C entry. Here I'll be adding the place from and then the vehicle number. Everything else will be calculated by GSTzen itself. Save the entry. Yeah, so yeah, this is the entry which I passed now. I'll just select this entry along with the delivery note which I've generated. And on the right hand side, you can see generate e-way bill. I'll give this command. As you can see, the delivery note turned into green color. The e-way bill got generated for it. And in this entry, it didn't get generated because you can see the error here. E-way bill is already generated for this document number. So if you try to generate it again for the document number which you have generated, it won't. So I'll just change the document number and try. Just maintain your I've entered the vehicle number. Yeah, you can see even that entry changed to green color. It says that e-way bill is generated, and even this can be viewed in the PDF form. If you give a command as print, you can see along with the tax invoice, the e-way bill, along with the e-way bill number, everything is generated here. E-way bill system, you can see the e-way bill, the standalone e-way bill also, which is generated here. So we saw that within a click of a button, though it is a B2C entry or a delivery note, e-way bill can be generated. Now let's try to update the part B over here. For that, again, you have to go to the e-way bill details and then just change the vehicle number which needs to be updated. I've changed the vehicle number and save the entry. I'll select this entry and you can see on the right hand side, update part B. I'll give a command as update part B. Sometimes. Just a second. Yeah, so now you can see the status E-Web will part be updated. And if you want to extend or cancel a E-Web also, if you just select the entry on the right hand side, you can see cancel E-Web, extend E-Web validity, everything can be done here. So this is how you create, cancel or update part B of the E-Web through Tally. Yeah, so you saw how to create e-webbill and e-invoice through Tally and also create and cancel standalone e-webbill. Regarding this, if you have any doubts, Venu sir is there to clear your doubts.
Thank you, Vasishtha and Utkarsh. So, if you have any questions, you can put your questions here in the chat, or you can raise the hand, you can unmute and you can ask your question. To contact us, the contact details have been shared on the. Yeah. There's a question about what about service bill? Again, please note the e-invoice is applicable both for the sale of goods and the sale of services. Even the services bill has to go through the e-invoice process. Yeah. At times there's a question from Logi where at times we have scrap to be sold. The value for which is known only once we take to the scrap dealer. So hope the scrap transfer can only through delivery channel. What should be the value need to be stated. Later we will do the invoice. Your understanding is perfectly right. Because when the goods are removed for sale, you don't even know the recipient and you don't even know the value. So you will be removing the goods for delivery challan under Rule 55. Only when the sale is confirmed, you will use the tax invoice and e-invoice. And the value for the delivery challan is value known to you at the time of removal, whatever is the value you estimate to be. A procedure of service bill, what about e-way bill in that case? Mundarji, the procedure of service bill, as Vasishtha showed you, instead of selecting an item invoice, you'll just select a service invoice like a journal voucher. You will just debit the party and credit you or whatever, like say in my case, audit assurance fees, whatever, and you will be doing an e-invoice. E-way bill is not required because it is not for movement of the goods. E-way bill is required only when there is a movement of the goods. Ravinderji is asking to return the defective goods, the invoice needs to be cancelled. If yes, what is the procedure for that? Please note to return the defective goods under section 34 of the CGST Act, you should issue a credit note and cancel the e-invoice. And please note cancellation of an invoice, the time limit is only 24 hours. So once generated within 24 hours, you should cancel that. Any other question? Okay. So the people are asking about the pricing of the tool. It all depends on different type of the application that you are looking at, whether you are doing an API integration or you have software. Most of our prices are 8,500, and you have different flavors of the type of basis, the type of integration. However, I would request Utkarsh has shared you the contact details. You can just WhatsApp or an email. The team will understand the requirement and suit you whatever is the best. But as I said, the prices would be around 8,500. And Utkarsh also has shared you a WhatsApp community link where our expert team will be sharing you every day one feature about the GST or the updates that are coming up on the GST. BTL will also be made through e-invoicing. There's a question from Mundar. I definitely did not understand what does BTL bill means. If export invoice is only INR, our foreign clients will not accept is due to contract condition. What can we do? Sir, you have two things. One is commercial invoice. The commercial invoice, which is what you are going to issue to your foreign customer for the purpose of GST, you have to go to the valuation rules, the adopt the value as on the date of issue of the invoice. Whatever the value that you are reporting in GST R1, that is the value, because in GST R1, you are not reporting the foreign currency value, you are reporting the converted INR value. Hence, you have to issue generate an e-invoice with the INR value. Okay, BTL is reimbursement bill. Again, reimbursement other than the mentioned in Rule 33, which is pure services, even that is applicable for GST. The moment GST is applicable, it becomes a tax invoice, and e-invoice is applicable even for claim of such reimbursement. How to generate a credit note through Tally Prime? Yes, like how you press F8 and the sales, like that you just press that button and generate a credit note. The same feature you will have of generating an e-invoice. So instead of F8, you will press the credit note and you will generate the credit note. E-invoice generated from Tally Prime, but e-way bill rejected due to kilometer too high. Can I generate e-way bill from the e-way bill portal? Yeah, the moment e-invoice is generated, your part A of your e-way bill has been automatically done. Part B will get generated basis the distance, and when you use the GST Zen app, the distance doesn't need to be entered, it will be automatically calculated. What is the authentic source for exchange rate? You can just reach out to our support, they will share you the link. It is as per the CGST rules, it is the customs notified rate. A credit note generate from e-invoice portal or Tally Prime. Rajesh ji, credit note, it's like invoice, originally you will be generating your accounting software, whether it is Tally or your own software, whatever. Likewise, credit note also you'll be generating from your software, and you will generate an invoice for it. Can we deliver the material on delivery challan later, and can we make the invoice? Permitted. If the item description is very long, how should we type in Tally and invoice? Because unless we type the full description, government sector will not pass the payment. Yeah, in the every ledger, you have something called ledger narration in the Tally. You can activate that as an additional field. You can say supply of the material. Let's say if I'm hypothetically, if I'm just say supplying a mobile phone, you can just say mobile phone. In the additional description, you give your IME number, the color, the RAM, the size, configuration, all those things can be given in the additional descriptions. So with that, you will be able to generate an e-way bill and e-invoice smoothly. Without IRN number, e-invoice not generated. Then how do we make e-invoice without IRN? Question is little not clear. E-invoice means you have IRN number. Is GST applicable for hostels? Yes, GST is applicable for hostels. There is a recent advanced ruling. In fact, when you join our WhatsApp community, I think yesterday our expert team also has shared about the tax rates on this. IRN for credit note, is it mandatory? Yes, even for credit note, IRN is mandatory. If the invoice is generated and cancelled after 24 hours, what is the impact? There is no question of cancellation of an invoice after 24 hours. Portal doesn't permit you. So you will be cancelling it in your books of accounts. Since the entry has already traveled to GSTR1, that's what Bharti has mentioned. While reporting in your GSTR1, you have to appropriately remove that record and file your GSTR1 accordingly. Okay, I think we have taken up all the questions that have come. If there is any question that is not answered, you can unmute yourself and ask, or we can conclude the session. Okay, I think most questions are answered, and this session recording would be shared to you, all to the registered participants. And feel free to get in touch with our support to get the GST Zen activated for your e-invoice, e-way bill, and other GST related compliance solutions. Thank you everyone for being with us, and a special thanks to Bharti for putting up all the presentation, Utkarsh for doing the demo on Excel and API integration, Vasist for the Tally integration. Thank you, team.